welcome to the Juggernaut Bolt Action Podcast, brought to you by myself, Dan, and
Hello.
we've relegated Topher because of reasons to last place here.
Hello.
And we do have a special guest with us.
A guest.
Sure is definitely the right word.
Who that talking?
Hello, it's Gaz.
Hey, aren't you that twat we had for an interview like 3 episodes ago and you never fucking turned up?
Greatest interview ever. Every question, yep, it was fine.
Fuck's sake. So, are you for that interview? Because we're a bit late for that, mate. We're like...
What I might do. This is the problem with having children. Well, I've got a child and he's a pain enough as it is. I don't know how the hell you have more than one. You're crazy.
Well, what you do is you put it in again.
But just a tip.
Just a tip repeatedly. It's fine. How are we, gentlemen?
Oh, good. How are you?
Yeah, my back's killing me. I've been on the drugs
Stop
today.
whinging about that.
All you did was pick up a sandwich.
I know.
It was such a big sandwich.
You make it
It
sound
was
like
tiny.
10 rounds of Mike Tyson.
I heard the crack.
Oh, is this your excuse for the weekend?
Look, we'll
Yeah,
talk
it is.
about it.
It's
We'll talk
terrible.
about it later. I had a dodgy weekend. I'm sure everyone, all the listeners will already know that everyone's ready to hear me complain. Everyone's ready to point fingers and laugh at me. It is fine. I have no issue with that. So
You just can't pick up salads, lads, don't worry.
so this is episode 5.5, a tip too far. We're doing a
Alright.
Alright. So we're doing a 0.5 episode for our Cambridge review. Cambridge Too Far, biggest tournament in the world for bolt action, was just last week, and we've all got an awful lot to say and wax lyrical and just generally invade your ears with our sumptuous tones.
I mean, keep some things out of their ears. We can't be doing that.
Sumptuous tones and toast bitching.
Yeah, so much bitching. So we're gonna do a review like we did for the GT. Though I did listen back today to that old podcast, so I could remember how we reviewed the GT, so we can make sure we do it the same. 2 things.
You mean the one where you couldn't add anything?
I can never add anything. That's not episode specific. That's just like.
I hope you're trying to check your list.
Toast Mass is so bad, he thinks that's like episode 94 ago.
Can I make the point?
No.
Fuck off, you cunts. Right. Other than you know what? My math was wrong actually the first time because we had 7 categories, ranked each category out of 5, and we still gave it 25 out of 30. Explain that. It makes no sense. So although the GT got 25 out of 30, I don't actually know what they actually got, so we can't really compare the scores to this round. But here we go. It's not an exact science. It's fine. And yeah, we've got Gaz, Juggernaut Gaz with us. Hello, Gaz.
Hello, Juggernaut Gaz.
You are a
Yeah, it's
Juggernaut.
weird,
Now.
isn't
You've
it?
got the T-shirt, even though you didn't fucking wear it.
And
Shame.
he's not a
So-
full Juggernaut because he barely won a game, so screw you guys.
I mean,
To be fair, the game that I won was absolutely devastating.
for you or for
So
him?
it's a game that you lost.
Oh, for him, I felt bad.
Oh, see, if you inflict devastating defeats on people, you are a Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was unapologetic about it.
Did he at least
Not
look
joy.
sore after the game?
John, so he always kind of looks a bit out there. If
Never,
you're listening,
ever,
John.
ever offer lube.
Did he go onto the internet and whinge about how you're ruining the game?
No, because I taught him how to play.
Okay, he's
No,
not
don't.
quite there yet, guys. It's fine. He's
Yeah,
like mini Jugger. He'll be fine.
Not the devil.
Not the devil.
He's 0.5 microtoast of a jugger.
His list may as well have been 0.5 microtoves.
I think I could be described as the floating jugger.
He's a floater! Get away!
What? Because you're just so shit. Anyway, so Cambridge, how has everyone's day gone? What's our experiences? Let's shall we start by congratulating Dan?
Mate, I fucked up royally.
You came second.
yeah.
You are now the
Hello.
first loser.
And I was going for the wooden
Biggest loser.
spoon.
Last episode, you gave so much shit about how you was going to go and lose because your list was wank and you only come second.
Don't worry, listeners. His list is wank.
Oh,
Do
don't
you know
worry,
what?
Dan shit at bolt action, didn't you know?
Do you know what? My bazookas were absolutely on fire. Anything
Don't
that
you
came in
normally call
range, I
those
was
shit?
blasting it. Bazookas usually are really shit. But I'll tell you what, on Saturday they just didn't want to miss. I could have rolled a 9 on a 6-sided dice, they were that hot.
How was your day, Pete?
It's good. Quite enjoyed it.
Did you bring
spent
the
a
right
lot of
list this time?
Yes, brought the right list.
Yay.
Even had to make an amendment from the first one I put in because I didn't have that many riflemen. But I brought the right list.
Yay! And Gaz,
Improvement.
how was your Cambridge experience?
So I'm pretty used to it by now. Being a Villa fan, I'm mid-table obscurity. That's all I'm gonna say.
See, this is
And
why
how
he's
was
only a mini jigger.
Toph's day? Come on, how
Mine-
was Toph's day?
How was your day, Toph?
after
Okay.
Did you
your
win?
spanking by a certain Scottish man?
I wouldn't call it a spanking. That's too light.
I was unadulterated rape. Let's be honest.
Maybe not that.
You know what? I could sit here and go, ooh, but this, ooh, but that. You know what? Paul was the better man.
Shit.
Paul was the
You
Paul,
got schooled.
Paul was the better man on the day. I wasn't on form. Is all I will say. And that's not. So therefore, he won. I think
Because of his bad back, listeners. It's because of his bad back.
Oh yeah. He couldn't roll his dice properly. Bad bag.
Okay, so to give the story, because now I'm gonna have to, give myself excuses. On the morning, we all went into the Tesco to pick up some packed lunches for us to eat on lunch break. As I bent down to pick my sandwich, I physically heard a crack, and my back just went, and that was it for the rest of the
Just
day.
to pick up a sandwich.
I mean,
Was the sandwich worth it?
you know what? It was a damn good sandwich. It was chicken and bacon, mate.
Alright.
It was great. But for the rest of the day,
Mayo though.
yeah, so much mayo. Mayo.
He says it was mayo.
Toph, I've got some bad news. That was homemade. That wasn't mayo.
You made the same joke when I ate that egg sandwich from the GT.
You were literally sick. Mark.
It's just because you like spunk sandwiches.
Anyway, I was hobbling around for the rest of the day and I couldn't stand properly because my back was killing me so much. But at the start of the day, I was managing to keep moving. It was fine. But by the end of the day, I was in fucking agony. I've actually watched back bits of the, because my defeat to Paul was broadcast live on the internet just to show me up as well. Why not? And there's some of the points where the dice is handed to me, and you can see me just physically go as I grab the dice. So
It didn't look like it affected your first game because,
no, I was still alright for it. I was managing to keep moving and stuff, but by the end, as the day went on, it just fucking hurt. So while I'm not going to use that as an excuse, I'll use many other things as an excuse. I won't use my back as an excuse. But we'll talk about it in drips and drabs as the day goes on. More importantly, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Paul Jones for winning winning Cambridge Too Far with his Italian list.
Yeah, congratulations, man.
Yay! What did it? Do we know what he had? Was it? I think it was pretty generic, wasn't it? Was it Italian paratroopers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fairly generic, but it was very well played.
Yeah.
Well, it had to be because it's fucking Italians.
I mean, on that defensive mission with your free barricades, not all
Objectives,
bad.
yeah.
It's not all bad.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, is it was he using the generic Italy in the Axis book rather than the Western Desert rules then?
No, it's Western Desert rules, I think.
Well, I was playing next to him one round, and he did have his little 6-inch heavy cover barricades with him, and I don't think you get that if you're using Western Desert.
Oh. Well, that's
So I
brave.
think he was
I
going
mean,
to
you do some of them, but I think a couple of the special forces, the Italians, they have different rules. But I'm not sure.
Who knows, listeners in internet land?
And it's the Italian and the Axis rules. You get the free walls because I played against Ken, and he got them. He got the walls and the morale thing. Instead, off the top of my head, the Western Desert rules, they get can only do snap 2 on certain actions. They count as having, I think their infantry count as having a pin all the time.
Useless.
As well.
But don't they lose Avanti?
Yeah, they do.
Well, it's Steve, the organizer. Yeah, Steve went and uploaded the winning list on Facebook, so you can go and have a look. And he also said, you see, you don't have to have a cheesy list to win at an event which specifically capped cheesy lists. Take that as you will. It reminds me, don't you know that you don't need a Formula 1 car to win the F1? You can win with a go-kart. as long as all the Formula 1 cars are banned.
Yeah, I think I responded to that post on Facebook by just saying, yeah, but it's amazing how the good players have finished top with the average lists anyway.
Yeah, I thought that was what I didn't see the point of putting that. It sounded like I'm making a point because I want to, rather than because it makes any logical sense. But oh well, whatever.
Passive aggressive dig, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, any other things? Oh, I would like to congratulate Juggernaut Burley for his very first bolt action tournament, and he got 2 wins.
I'm so proud.
How good is that? He came top third, didn't he?
He battered him. I was well proud because the last few games he played with me, I'd battered him and gone, no, this is how you do it, and he did it.
First ever bolt action tournament. He's only been playing 6 months. He had a pretty generic British paratrooper list, nothing special, and he did really well for himself. So, A star points to you, not like Juggernaut Topher, who came 70th.
And fun fact, those 2 wins he got at the GT were his first ever bolt action wins. Not GT, Cambridge.
Were they his first ever wins?
First ever wins. We've beaten him all the time.
Wow. Bless him.
So it just goes to show, right, as long as you stick at it and your mates go no mercy on you, you'll get good.
Also means that losing isn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as you take information away from that.
Yeah.
And you can learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's why Gasky's finishing bottom third.
Whoa. This is my lowest ever placing at a tournament.
Mine too.
Last year, as you very well know, I did pretty freaking well. But yeah, no, it's not started well, let's be honest.
Do you remember when we first met Gaz? And he was so nice, and he was so like all nice and fluffy. He's just like, I'm just here to roll dice. It's so cute. And then I took him to a doubles tournament, and he allied with me, and we won. And ever since, he's had that taste, and now he's a dickhead.
To be fair though, it was before that, because you remember when we went to Infamous Open, and I was beaten off second by about 2 points.
Oh, that's got to get you
thirsty. Didn't I beat you off second by about 2 points?
You came fourth. So it was really bizarre. I didn't understand quite how they figured it out. But you got the prize because you took a different army to me. Basically, because the Allied one, they did it first place size minor, and somehow you got the prize for it, but I actually finished third. It was really fucking weird. I just didn't understand it.
It's because you just weren't as good as me.
They took one look and went, nah.
And in fact, actually, yeah, that was the event that Paul live streamed our game. I played in Japanese, and I beat him. We ended up playing again at Cambridge, and he live streamed it and absolutely whooped me, those bloody Dutch.
We'll bring up the Dutch later. Those bloody Dutch.
However, just before we move on, we had plenty of people come up, say hello, use the code word, get petty to get their widget, and
so many people got petty. It was brilliant.
It was great, and we'd just like to thank the guy who got the widgets made for us, which is Just Lasered.
Justlasers.co.uk, I think his website is.
Yeah.
He got very petty with us. It was brilliant. So
good.
And we're gonna have to put another order in because we got rid of so many.
I mean, I've still got quite a few. I think it's because I was at the corners, lower down of the tables where.
I got rid of a good 10 or so.
I mean, I got rid of double figures worth of widgets.
Yeah.
Well, I'll second that recommendation though, because he makes our trophies for the Imps Open. So actually, I'm assuming that one of you won. Who won it last year?
Me.
Was there anybody else but Dan? Come on.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that your trophy was made by Just Lasered as well.
Yeah, and they are cool little trophies that you got as well, guys.
Right. Shall we get on with the review then?
Yeah, let's see where we go.
Right then, Toph, do you think you're up for recording this next bit, or are you going to bitch about your back again?
I've just taken so many paracetamol. It's brilliant. Like, I'm going to be high as a fucking kite.
Off paracetamol, how weak are you?
You know what? It does remind me.
You hurt his back picking up a salad. Come on.
I mean, that was a joke. It's fine. But on the day, when I was like stumbling into the venue, Juggernaut Luke turns to me and is like, "Oh mate, I've got some drugs if you need them." And I was like, "Well, what you got?" And he's like, "Oh, I've got these prescription ones." I'm like, "If there's prescription, I don't want. It's not that serious. I don't want to take anything and be like proper off my face." And he went, "Yeah, you will be off your face. You're only allowed to take one a day." And I was like, "Fuck."
Was Luke taking those that day?
I don't know why he just had them on him, but
Just
horse tranquilizers.
I was terrified. So yeah, let's let's go on to the next section. So let's do the review. We've got 6 categories we're going to review. We've got rules pack / missions, venue, terrain, atmosphere, TO, and prizes. We're going to give each one out of 5 and do some Topher maths and add it all together and give them a score out of 100.
Yeah.
Or 30.
1 + 1 is 2.
We'll see. As I say, the GT got 25 out of 30, but God knows if that's the right score. So we'll see how they compare when we do. Sound good?
Yeah.
Right. So which one shall we do first? Shall we start off with the tournament where everyone starts off at the tournament before they've even gone? The rules pack.
Yeah.
Who has some opening comments, opening thoughts?
This was pretty empty when it first came out. I mean, it had its usual stuff, the where it is, what's required, what the spirit is, a little FAQ for units and things that might be questionable, that this is how we're playing them, and then none of the scenarios.
I like that. Speaking as a TO myself, I don't want to release, and I'm like for imps, I never release the scenarios. You find out on the day, because it means people can't to a scenario. It means you have to have an all list that can do everything. You just have to be prepared to react to it on the day.
Yeah, but then your missions don't usually bring in a bunch of restrictions that no one's been made aware of. So you can't turn up on the day and go, "Oh, by the way, all of your forward deploying units, no."
So
that's a good point.
I see why that was done after the day, though.
So let's rewind a bit, because obviously we got some points to say. So the pack was released right when the tickets were first released, and it was pretty bare bones. It was here's your points you're allowed to take. Here's an FAQ for some of the theatre selectors. Don't be a dick. This is just a nice fun gaming day. I'm going to review all of the lists. And that's fair enough, And then it's all your usual stuff like where we're going, blah 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 blah. And I mean, we've all been to Cambridge before. We knew what to expect, so it wasn't out of the ballpark there. I think the main thing, at least from me, which was an issue, was that the original pack didn't have much in it, and then much like a build your own burger or a Lego kit, they just started adding stuff onto it every 3 months or so as onto the build up to the tournament. Now for me, I just want to know up front. Now I'm okay with adding missions later, but things like what you can and can't take changed monthly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even objective. It wasn't just you're not allowed two flamethrowers, fuck off. It was I'll review your list, and if I like it, I'll let you through, and if I don't like it, I won't let you through. And it was very subjective. I know it was the Juggernauts had to send. We were for months just sending ideas, going, "Is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay?" Because we can't read minds, and the pack didn't say.
I think we were responsible for the Facebook post that said, "Look, try not to aim for this lot, and it should be fine."
I think the thing that annoyed me most is that, like Toph said, there were some amendments, but they weren't clearly communicated. They were like little addendums added on. There's like one on the Facebook post, and then another on a different Facebook post, and then one at the bottom of a comments of a previous Facebook post that you'd never seen before, and then the missions added to the rules pack after all the list submissions had been done. It was just a bit piecemeal and a bit odd. That was all.
There's a couple of moments where some of one of another of our club, he got quite frustrated because every list he was sending through was getting thrown back in vein of, "No, just don't take that." And he got so frustrated, he just submitted the list he took last year. And when that got thrown back, he was like, "Well, you let it through last year. What's the problem this time?" I just don't want to do it this year. So I'm all for objectivity. I don't, as I've always said, I don't mind comp. I don't mind limitations. I don't mind a rule set of here's what you can and can't take, but you need to be clearer, because you need to be clearer, because the one thing you don't want is people turning up going, "Oh, well, you let that through, but not this through. No, but you let through that, but not this." So if you're upfront and very clear and specific what you can and can't do, whether that is you're not allowed more than one flamethrower, no, you're not allowed to take this selector, no, you're not allowed to take a tank platoon.
Yeah,
I think that would have been appreciated a bit more.
If your name's Dan, you're not allowed to win.
Fuck it.
So here's a thought for you then. So you vet lists, because I've done that sort of thing before. I know what Steve's thinking with some of them as well. But you've got to think as well. It's not just the list. Well said. You can take a nasty list, but if you're a shit player, it doesn't matter. I think a lot of the time, the list to the person, and if you know that person and you know that it can absolutely destroy someone with a certain list, like if it's a really nasty list and it's a shit player, then you're like, yeah, you'd be a bit more lenient. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's kind of like saying, the athlete from Transylvania is allowed to take drugs the night before the Olympic Games because he ain't gonna win anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I see what you're saying, and we'll preach the same thing. A list in the hands of one player isn't the same as a list of the hands of another player. However, you've got to have some semblance of fairness here. Otherwise, you're then literally going to judge people by your own opinion of them. Now, if that's what you want to do, if you want to say, I like you, you can have this list. I don't like you, you can't have this list. I think you're a good player, you can have this list. Oh, you're shit, you can do what you want. Fine, but that's an area of subjectivity that I don't like. Now, that's just personally. Some people will like that. This, in my opinion, is not particularly ordained or anything, but that's just the impression I got. It was a little bit shifting. Now, I know Sheffield's not here to make the point, but he came across a list at the GT at Cambridge. We can't stop saying GT. He came across a list at Cambridge. And what was it? It had 2 howling cows in it. It had 2 snipers, 2 flamethrowers.
Oh, yeah.
So the list had, I actually noted this down because, alright, it annoyed me a bit, but it might have been the player thing. 2 howling cows, 2 flamethrower teams, 2 snipers, 2 of the German recce bikes that we've said are all already really good. A Panzer IV, I'm assuming that was the Tiger Fear one. A Kuba wagon for one of the FT flamethrower teams, let's be honest. And then a bunch of infantry. And it was dual platooned on a generic reinforced, but it felt a little, yeah, all right, you can have that.
It makes it a whole lot sorer when, Pete sent an inquiry into Steve, not even a proper list submission, of a not too dissimilar list to that one using one of his theatre selectors. So just one theatre selector, not double reinforced platoon. And he said, no, you've only taken that just to spam out the small teams. And that's exactly what that guy did on double platoon, but it wasn't kicked back. So it's just a bit of a sense of injustice, isn't there?
A little bit. If I'd known that I just needed to use a generic reinforce and take the extra LT as a secondary tax, I'd have quite happily done that.
Mm. But then he probably would have kicked that back just because you've got Team Leicester Juggernauts at the top of the page.
As I say, we're not against.
Kick yours back because he doesn't like you, Dan.
We're not against comp. I promise you, we're not against comp. We're not against taking lists that suit the theme of the event. All we want is a clear and open field, so everyone knows what's allowed and what isn't allowed, and everyone knows, and everyone's on the equal footing. And unfortunately, I think the pack fell down here in that it did what the GT did, whereas the pack didn't really get released until 2 months beforehand. And up until Cambridge, even though the tickets went on sale a year before with the pack didn't really have the information you really need in it, literally until it was 1-2 months beforehand,
And there was some of the lists there that we saw where, if you're trying to get rid of all the cheese, there was one, I think it was British Western Desert lists. He had 4 or 5 Stuarts in it.
Oh.
And there was one Russian player who took a tank platoon. It might have even been a double tank platoon, but he had 2 T-26 machine gun tanks, 2 BA-10s, a Postaduna, a Katusha. He had a couple of trucks with some squads in it as well, and I think he had the Tokarev as well. But he had about 10 or 11 vehicles, and then just a bunch of inexperienced infantry, and that was allowed through.
Was the one that had the Stuarts. So it was British. It's a British generic tank list, so it's not taken from Western Desert. 3 British Stuarts, so it's not MMG spam because the Brits didn't do that. So just straight up 1 Crusader, a 25 pounder, and then I think it was 2 or 3 5-man regular units and Indian carriers. So the infantry weren't really up to much. You can still bully the board with 8+ tanks.
Yeah.
So leading on to that, so that's just the first half of the pack. That's just building your army on the on the way through. So as we've already alluded to, the missions weren't released until right at the end, and as a consequence, the scoring mechanism wasn't entirely clear what your secondaries would be until right at the end, and we're talking a week beforehand.
5 days before.
5 days beforehand, yeah.
Yeah. Now, personally, I've not got a problem with that. Like Gaz says, some people want to keep their missions secret. Like Gaz's missions, when you go to Imps, they're all slight special variances of missions that you already play. The thing that got my goat up about these was the extra rules that they put in the mission pack that would have affected almost every single player's army. As in,
if
for
I'd
2 of the
known
missions,
before
no
this-
forward observers.
Yeah, if I'd known before list submission, it would have fundamentally changed 2 choices on my list.
So what changes were they that were made?
The whole reason it was in there, and it was because of 2 communist Chinese forces using sparrow tactics.
I played one of them, I can see why.
As Topher well knows, after we won the Dales with me using said list, it's broken. I'm not going to lie, it's nasty, isn't it?
So
Toph?
that's forward deploying elite squads, which, because they have sparrow tactics, are able to do a free 9-inch move before the game begins. So they start off 2 foot away, and then they start off like 15 inches away.
Oh, maths did. Yeah, you did your maths. Well done.
Yay!
He did it, guys!
We can close the show now. He's done some maths.
So yeah, basically, because a couple of Chinese lists with this sparrow tactics were submitted, rather than telling those players to come on, get your life sorted, he decided to ban all forward deployers everywhere.
Yeah,
is that correct?
And the thing that made it worse as well is at the end of the day when they were giving out the prizes, instead of just keeping it as a thinly veiled restriction on those 2 players, he said, "Oh, and by the way, everyone, the whole reason why you've had to not take any forward deployed for the 2 missions is because of this cheesy list." And then he gave them the cheese award. So, well, just we all know it's because of that, mate. Just fucking restrict it beforehand.
Yeah, I really didn't like that middle mission. So the first mission was kill points.
Yep.
Totally fine, totally legit. That's as
Only
expected.
2 forward deploying units, and spotters don't count.
Yeah. The last mission was key positions with 4 objectives. No forward deploying allowed.
Yeah.
Apart from spotters.
He allowed forward deploying spotters, but not units, and then said that spotters aren't units, which is directly contrary to the rule. But whatever, it doesn't matter. It was it was key positions. At the end,
kill points as a tiebreaker.
Yeah, and the middle mission was point defense, where the 3 objectives were 18 inches on, rather than 6 inches on, and the defender's deployment zone was 2 foot. So basically, it meant that the attacker didn't have to go as far to get the objectives, and the defender had to go a lot further to get their objectives, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now,
and the attacker automatically got prelim bombardment as well. No roll for it.
Yeah.
It was playing Brits.
So I have 2 or 3. This is my biggest bugbear, simply because this mission was so swingy. It was sometimes barely worth fighting. Especially when we did a couple of practice games. It all came down to, well, if you're deploying 2 foot on and then you've been prep bombarded, and you have to deploy 2 foot on because you need to hold your objectives. You can't just walk. You can't just let your opponent get them. You have to deploy there. Suddenly, your army is starting with 2 pins across the board, and your opponent's 2 foot away. So by the time you've shed your pins, they're already on top of you.
Yeah.
For the first point. Another point is that it was so dependent on terrain. Some of these boards, there was very varied. We'll come down to the terrain lately. And if you happen to be in a board where the terrain was concentrated in the edges and nothing was in the middle, you're fucked. It didn't. You had nothing to hold it with. If there was no ways you could advance up as a defender or an attacker, it was just fucked. There was no qualms about that. And then it came down to as well to things like army choice. So if you were Brits, it was almost an auto win for you. If you were attacking as Brits with their souped up prelim bombardment, it was horrendous.
Well, as an American player, because obviously I took the Marines to this tournament, it was a brilliant mission for me to attack because I got the prelim, put pins on pretty much every single unit in his army, and then just walked up the board, and just by walking on 2 inches, I was already in range of his whole army. And because the Yanks don't suffer movement penalties, I was hitting his entire force on 4s and 5s on the first turn. Whereas usually you'd have to run for 2 turns before you're even close.
My list as well. I felt sorry for my my second round opponent, because my list, even in practice games, in theory, I basically sat down and looked at the scenario and went, I can't lose. There was no way for me to lose that mission because of the way my list was built.
And especially where they governed who owned the objective. So what they do a few times in these sorts of tournaments is to stop people just hanging on for 5 turns, not doing anything, and then trying to go and nick it on the last turn. It's if you walk onto it and you haven't held it for that turn, you don't get the objective. So you need to be on it for a full turn before you can claim it fully. And I think that's another thing that really screwed everyone over on this for defending.
Especially as it had to be base to base as well.
I
you
did
stuck
actually
where it was deployed.
I was the attacker when I played this mission against Paul, and I did actually manage to lose it, which is another sort of add to injury. Feel free to laugh at me now. But,
when it comes to scenarios, when it comes to these sort of scenarios, the reason I rewrite all mine is I hate these sort of scenarios, especially this one is the worst for the fact that it's a 2-turn scenario. No one gives a fuck about turn 1 to 4 because who cares? Turn 5 and 6, when your outflankers turn up and you hit the objectives, that's when the game starts. For me, it's just boring.
Yeah, the issue I had was I was advancing under, with quite a mismatched army, and my army didn't excel very well at this mission to begin with. The terrain, the board had basically no terrain on it, which meant that it funneled my army into the very few areas I could actually hide. So then suddenly all Paul had to do was just throw infantry to block me up in those levels, put some pins on me, and slow me down. So it was just very disappointing. Now I get what Stephen and the team tried to do, which is fix point defense. I don't think it would. I don't know why they wouldn't just put
noble idea, but I don't think the execution was there. I actually think instead of 18 in, it'd be 12 in, because then at least there's a little gap for the defender to go, oh crap, and rally.
I would say stop attacker defender missions overall. I would say insert something like sectors.
Love sectors.
Which is a perfectly balanced mission. Or have the point defense objectives along the 2-foot line right in the middle, and then make it neutral.
Capture the hill.
Capture the ridge line, and then because things like prelim can ruin games. If one player just gets enough 6s, sometimes it's worth resetting before you've even carried on.
So Ken, obviously I played Ken, and he was saying about how when he runs his tournaments, because I've been to one of his before, it was quite good actually. He in the scenarios where there's prelim bombardment, you don't roll for it, both sides will get it, whatever but there's no 6. If you roll a 6, it's just 3 pins straight up. No,
that'd probably be better.
I think that's a lot better because I think I like the idea of prelim bombardment to sort of stop the setup force and getting a real edge on you in the first turn. But last year, I played against this guy at Cambridge, and I think I rolled 4 6s against the dude, and I killed a shit ton of stuff in the before the game even started.
Yeah, I've had similar prelims against an all inexperienced Russian horde, and I basically killed all of his small teams and didn't do anything else to the rest of it. And of course, because all of his small teams are dead, he's got nothing to contend with my snipers and mortars, and I could just pick off the value targets as I wanted to then for the rest of the game. It just did not go well for him.
So I think that's. Does anyone else have anything more to say on packing missions? Oh, the final point was, so the secondaries came down to, obviously to split up between when you've only adding minor wins and major wins. There was a lot of people with the same tournament score. So the way they broke up secondaries is they added up the amount of kill point difference from the first mission, and then added the objectives you scored for the other. Now the problem is that way they worked out objectives to be exactly the same as kill points. So then you'd get at most, 7 points, secondary points for the second and third round, because that's how many objectives there were. But the first round entirely came down to how many kill points your opponent had, how many dice he had, which then meant you could get an absolutely massive buff in secondaries just by coming up against the first opponent on the right opponent on the first round.
Well, I tabled my opponent first round, and he only had 10 dice to take, and I had another turn and a half to go. So if he'd have had any more, I would have taken those as well. So my winning margin would have been greater, and it might have even put me in with a shot of getting first place, because I think the guy that finished above me, the difference between us was, I think it was from like 3 or 4 points, I think. So it could have been a massive swing.
I think it's a little bit. There must have been better ways to differentiate it, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Any other closing thoughts on pack before we all give it a rank out of 5?
One thing I will say that is quite nice about it is the FAQ section that's offered in the back. It basically goes through a bunch of stuff that you always find the same kind of questions coming towards the TOs going, what about this, what about that? It goes through a bunch of stuff and says this is this, this is that. It basically cleans up a bunch of stuff, so there is a nice part of the pack.
Yeah, I agree. That is a really good bit. It's nice to see some logic put in.
Yeah, it's an FAQ at the back to say this is how this works at this tournament. Just deal with it.
Which, when we do our tournament, is going to have a lot of fact. Because a lot we don't agree with. I'm going to give the pack a 2 out of 5. Is that a bit harsh?
Ooh.
I thought that was, I think that's about right. Actually, I'm going to give it a 2 as well.
I'm actually going in the middle of the road. It was what I expected from Cambridge. There's a few disappointments, a few good things, so I'm going to go for a 3.
So I'm gonna one up you on that one, Pete, because I didn't actually have any issue with it. Mind you, I took a pretty shit list that was always going to get approved anyway. So
shit player, shit list.
Go with a 4 because it's basically the same as it has been the last 2 years. I didn't see any issues with it. Obviously, you guys did, but I didn't see any problems with it. But
it wasn't the pack itself. I think it was more the distribution and delivery. That was at least was my main problem.
Yeah, a lot of the extra rules didn't actually affect me. The no forward deployers didn't really affect me. I only had 1 sniper, but
screwed up my bomb sticks.
Doing it piecemeal.
That was my only anti-tank.
Yeah, doing it piecemeal was just a bit. It's a bit unfair to some players. That
likewise, I was dead fucking last of our team anyway. I was freaking right at the bottom with the amount of games I lost. It made no fucking difference to me. I had no forward deployers anyway. I wasn't a shot, so it doesn't really matter. But I know that if I had been in a position where it would have affected me, I might have been quite miffed. So 2 out of 5 for me.
Yeah.
So I need to do some quick maths now. 2 + 2 + 3 + 4 divided by 4.
2.75. I am on point. It's 2.75. So we'll see what happens there.
So venue. What's our thoughts on the venue?
I like it.
Love it.
Anything else? Is that it?
No, it's a very, very good venue. I mean, to get to the car park was massive, loads of space. Because it's in a school, so loads of toilets, enough room to move about and like get around. Because having 100 odd bodies in that big sports hall sort of still gets a bit warm.
It didn't get smelly. I was quite appreciative of that.
Yeah, this is what me and John said. We were expecting sweaty, like horrible stench, and it's actually not bad.
It's because there wasn't too much cheese in the room. That's why. It was the tone of the list brought the smell down. It's fine.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, I love that venue. It's almost like, I know it's a school, but I'm pretty sure the guys who built the school must have gone, one day some bolt action dude's gonna want to run a tournament here. We best make sure that they got everything sorted.
Yeah, there's plenty of parking. Alright, speaking as a non-smoker, I'm very biased. I love that they can't smoke on site.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Screw you guys. Go elsewhere.
My only qualm is because it's a school. There's no bar.
Yeah, they did have a tuck shop set up, and they had cherry coke, which is the top tier of soft drinks.
Free tea and coffee.
Was tea and coffee free?
Amazing. Yeah, they said if you don't mind, like giving a donation to the scout group that was doing the tuck shop, which I thought that's fucking awesome. So I put a couple of quid in the things for having a few tea.
God, I could have had some tea. Never mind.
Were you not listening to the briefing?
No. I was busy whinging about my back. Remember?
He still had all those tears in his eyes from when Paul raped him.
I'm not a time traveler. I thought I was going to win still then.
Having the having the setup there as well, like they had the big stage and the microphone so everyone could hear over the PA system. They had like a big massive screen so everyone could see the matchups. The problem was you had to have a set of fucking binoculars to see the thing. Like everyone crowding in, like squinting, going, "Where?"
I quite like that, but I did actually turn around to the guys and say, "Can you take this first set of lights and turn them off?" And they went, "Well, we've already looked, and no, the lights are slaved up to one switch, which is a shame."
Oh, it's a shame.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not the venue's fault, you know.
No.
I liked
Cool,
having the projector with the time level around on it.
That was
very
wonderful.
So when I was playing
That's like-
Paul, I could have a look and go, right, I've only got, an hour of this hellhole left. So I can purge myself of sin.
40
quite
more
like-
minutes. I can get some ointment.
Isn't that the one that came up to me and I looked at the clock and there was 44 minutes of the round left?
Was that the first? Yeah, that was the first round when I played Andy. Listen to the cast.
No,
Hi,
no,
Andy.
you were next to me for the first round.
Oh, okay.
It's the second round. You came up to me like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Did you win? That's harsh." And then you went, "No."
Oh no, that was third round. That was third.
Oh.
Second, it was right up to the wire. Anyway, so yeah, venue. There's not much to say, simply because it's everything you need out of a venue. Toilets were perfect. That's always a big part because it's a school, so they're not disgusting like the GTs were. It was great. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5.
Wow. Just speaking for one of our fellow juggers, Luke, whose bowels move more than travellers. There were no toilet seats, so if you wanted to have a nice healthy poo, you had to sit on the ceramic.
I know of a few.
Oh, nice and cold.
Or hover.
I know of a few
Should've
army
gone for
boxes.
disabled toilets.
I know of a few army boxes he could have perched in.
Yeah.
It'd be fine. Okay, 5 out of 5 from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 for me as well.
No, I'm being mean, but that's only because I'm a potential alcoholic. It's only a 4.
Is that for the booze?
Yeah, I want to be able to when I realise, fuck this entire mission up. I want to be able to get myself a pint after and go, idiot.
One thing I love about Bugman's Bar.
Oh, I've been smashed first turn. I may as well just go and get a pint. Oh.
Well, that's a 4.75 overall,
Mm.
which is a good score. Next one. We ready to go for the next one?
Yep.
Terrain.
Mm.
Very hit and miss.
Who wants to introduce it and give a bit of brief overview?
Right, I'll go with this one then. So, they've got 100 players aimed for triple numbers in the player base. It requires a lot of tables, and 50 tables worth of terrain is a lot of terrain. What they asked everyone to do, and I think they've been doing it since they started, was saying like, bring tables with you to help us out, but they also do a prize for best table, which we'll probably cover later anyway. So you get a really mixed bag of scenery. I can only speak as a TO from smaller events. I mean, the biggest I've done was 40 odd players, and that's 20 tables. But I had a thing of policing each individual table to make sure it's set up how I'd want it to be set up with enough terrain on it.
Yeah. Because there's a few I was looking at where I was like, don't want to be fighting on that. Too sparse.
Yeah.
Do want to be fighting on that. Look at all that I can hide behind. Oh, I can turn that into a dirty fight.
I mean, the first game I played, it was on it was a board with just a couple of small ruins and then nothing but hedgerows, just nothing but quite small hedges. Your models could easily see over them. Thank God
Full
we
of soft cover.
Yeah, thank God we house ruled it that you couldn't see over them. When you're doing the pre-game chat and going, what are we going to count this? What are we going to count this as? Because otherwise it would have just been an absolute nightmare of everyone just shooting each other from the first turn. There just wasn't much. I mean, but it was not every table. A lot of the tables were really good. We had some beautiful boards there, like some Stalingrad ones and some desert ones. You know, the one that won the best table tournament was beautiful to look at, but it wasn't.
Beautiful to look at. I played on that table against Paul live on stream, and we both agreed it was awkward. It looked really awesome. We started playing, and it was very fine in a friendly game that didn't have a timer on it. But because we had a timer on it, both of us were going a sight and going, "Can you actually see that, mate?" And I'm like, "I ain't got a fucking clue. Hang on, let me have a look." And both of us sitting there, live on camera, staring down like the eyes of our blokes, going, "I don't know, mate. I'm not entirely sure." So,
I was in a
I
very
played on a-
similar. Sorry, I was in a very similar position to Gaz there for my last mission of the day. So at that point, I'd won 2 up on the top table, and my last mission was basically a massive wall about 15 inches on one side, about 15 inches in from the edge on one side, which covered about 2/3 of the board, and on the other side there was almost nothing. So of course I won the roll for sides, got that side, put all of my infantry behind that wall, and the whole game my opponent had one shot, I think, which was less than a 7 to hit, and that was it. And it just ruined the game for him because he just couldn't get any lines of fire that were less than impossible to hit. It was stupid, but it looked amazing.
I played one of the Chinese guerrilla faction lists last game on a board with a submarine pen on it. Screw you guys! I got to fight for a sub.
Yeah, that board was really cool to look at. I don't think it was a problem with quantity. I think it was a problem with a lot of time how it had been arranged and like how it just kind of. Obviously, we just turned up in the morning. We don't know what prep went into it the night before. So please tell me if I'm wrong. But it looked as if they'd run right there. There's a church, there's a road, there's a building, there's a hedge. Cool. Next, there's a building, there's a church. It just kind of passed on, and it just meant that when you actually sat down to play these boards. Oh, so going back to the game with me and Paul, I use that as an example because you can go and look at the video. It looks, just from looking at it, yeah, there's a bit of terrain there, it's alright. But then when you actually start to play on it, it turns out there was barely any realistic terrain that you can actually, maneuver and hide behind, and those sort of those sort of things make much more of a difference as to how well you do at a tournament than your list ever will.
Yeah.
The biggest issue is that when you're setting up as like the night before, like you said, so you're setting up the night before, had 20 boards. I think the Cambridge guys put out 20, and people brought 30 boards, which I think is pretty amazing for them community wise. But you can only police your boards that you put out, and then in the morning when people are setting them up, and some people were late because if you notice, like we'd had all ours set up. And then people like turn up like 10 minutes before play starts to set their board up. And, the guys who are actually running the 2D6 Lodge guys must have been running around sorting all the other shit out. And obviously, at that point about tables when they've got to sort players out and players' problems. Do you know what I mean?
I do really sympathise, though.
Yeah.
Because sourcing terrain for a 50-man tournament is no mean feat. I just think back to when we did the student nationals with 300 players a few years ago.
That's hard work. That was a lot of hard work.
Jesus, me and Juggernaut Smurf sat in a living room for 6 months painting terrain, ignoring our families. And every other night we was just going more terrain, and we was just sitting there till my dry brush hand got very achy. So I do really appreciate how much effort the terrain is. It's the biggest barrier to running a tournament is the terrain.
I remember those terrain painting parties.
Yeah.
Well, going off of Gaz's point, it is hard to police what the terrain is, but my idea of a dense board probably isn't the same as Gaz's idea for a dense board in terms of terrain, or my theme board of desert is not too open, but if you were to ask Toph with his very short SMG army, it probably is really open and it's far too unbalanced. So you've got those sort of predicaments as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want every board to be the same. I like a variance. I like you having the rough city boards and then you match that with the not so rough, like the very open desert boards. And I like having to juggle between your one army between the two. I just think it wasn't a good spread. The differential between some of the boards was a little bit off, and I think it did affect quite a number of games, at least in my experience. People might tell me otherwise, but from me, I definitely had a negative experience.
What was nice was that all of the boards were 6x4.
Yay! They were the correct size.
Yeah.
So, what are we giving terrain overall?
I think a lot of it was gorgeous, despite some problems with some open boards. That's what happens when you got to source them from the community as well. So I'm going to be quite nice. Well, more or less on point. Give it a 4.
I'll also go with a 4 as well. I think the nice looking boards and the right amount of scenery outweighed the sparse, crappier looking ones.
Yeah, I'll echo the 4. I think the added challenge of not knowing what terrain you're going to get when you set up for a mission is part of the fun of the competition, really, and part of the challenge that you want to face as a good player. You want all the elements to come together to give you a challenge.
I am going to go very middle of the road and give it a 3, right in the middle. There was some, that's because I understand how difficult it is. I understand all the challenges, and there were some very nice boards there. I just wish I'd got to play with them. I think I'm a bit jaded because I had a bit of a bad time when it came to terrain. Through no fault of anyone's own. It's just the way it goes. But I'm going to give it a 3.
That's rather generous. Well, not rather, but brings it down a bit. So there's a 3.75 on that overall. Yeah. I don't know what we're going to do about these 3.75.
I'll get my calculator out, because me using like normal maths just gets you guys to laugh at me and be mean.
Is it a scientific one?
I mean, it's Windows.
Have you
Mate, Toph's still using an abacus.
I just use the hairs on my head to count, which is why my maths has been going slowly downhill as I get older.
Oh, you can't get above 3, that's why.
No, that's when he's counting the inches of his penis.
Oh, I thought he was getting Goldilocks in the 3 hairs.
If it goes into negatives, does that just mean I've developed a vagina? Is that how it works?
No, it's called an innie.
Oh, I've never seen one. I don't know how it works.
Jesus.
Right. So
he's never seen it because remember he's got a bad back. He can't lean down to see it.
I've had a bad back all my fucking life, you twat. Right. So the worst part of the day, the people and the tossers and the twats I had to spend time with who were being mean to me all day and giving me shit. What do we think about them?
There was some right tosser that came in second. I think his name was Dan.
The horrendous atmosphere of just bullshit.
Yeah, people taking cheesy Dutch lists that spank you all the way back to next week.
You know what? I may have had a bad day in terms of like back pain and game performance, but I had so much fun talking shit with people. It was so much
great.
Fun. It was more fun, at least for me, between games than actually on the games. We gave out an awful lot of widgets. An awful lot of people told me to get petty. It was great seeing faces and realizing people you've gamed with all these years, but you haven't necessarily known them by name, but you know of them. And suddenly they're listening to our podcast. I'm like, oh, you so waste your time.
I think for me, it's the best thing about going to any of these events and tournaments, especially the big ones where you're going to get loads of people. You just see the whole community come together. And there's all this shit going on Facebook and all the groups saying, oh, the community's poison and all this bollocks. I think it is bollocks because look at Saturday. Everyone was having a laugh. Everyone was getting on. The amount of gay hugging going on was amazing, mostly between me and Toph. But,
so much gay hugging.
That wasn't hugging. That was tantamount to being called the police on.
Hey, if my penis is negative value and it's now a vagina, it's not gay, mate.
Mate, if one of you two was called George Michael, that would have been cottaging.
I especially I like chatting with all the Scottish blokes. I managed to put a number of faces to people I've spoken to and not actually met at a tournament before. So this is one weird thing I don't know if you guys picked up on, is especially since starting a podcast, is that people know you and you don't necessarily know them.
Yeah, I had a lot of, well, let's be honest, we were wearing shirts with our names on the back, but I had a lot of people going, hey, you're that person. I'm there like, wait, what? Oh, yeah, my name's on my back. Yeah, it's me.
There's some people like, hey, Toph, how you doing? How's your penis? How's your mum? And I'm like, how do you know about these things? Oh, yeah. It's really funny.
I doubt anybody actually came up to you and went, hey, Toph, how's your penis?
One person did.
Maybe a lot of people asked how his mum was though.
Did that person get a widget? That person needed to get a widget on the spot.
Yeah, they got one out of me. It's fine. And a lot of people saying just the tip to me as well.
Good guys, that's what we want to hear.
That seems to have struck a chord. Even
no longer the devil of bolt action, he's just the tip.
Even Steve the TO admitted that he listened to our podcast.
Yeah. Wow. That's quite a lot.
So
it is always humbling having people come on to you and say
Frenemy number one, I've publicly outed you now as a listener of ours, so I apologise. You'll have to just deny it or something.
or call us bad names. I mean, you can do that. I don't.
Yeah, you can do that. That's fine. It's fine. But yeah, the people are the one reason which keeps me going. It's when you go to a tournament, you go, "Ooh, that's a big one." The first thing you think of is who's going. First thing, because I want to see my friends, and the Bartian community. At least I speak for myself. They're my only friends.
Yeah, because we all secretly hate you.
Well, you're just horrible to me. You should have, guys. When I freaking bust myself up in Tesco, and I turn around, they all going, "Ooh, what's wrong with you, Topher?" And I say, "Oh, my back's gone." Now a real friend would have gone, "Oh, you're all right, mate. Oh, yeah." These guys, you should see the fucking look on their face. It's like Christmas has come early. Does this mean we get to be a cunt to Topher all day? Yeah!
Hey, I'll have you know, I actually tried to help.
Yeah, you did try to help. You was like, put your arms up there, put your arms over there, put your arms over there. Does it still hurt?
Do these stretches. This will loosen your back out because you'd actually just tightened all the muscles in your lower back.
I like when you came up and just gave him the medical examination and just basically just went like a mechanic going, "Yeah, she's busted."
I've had the same thing before. It's yep, you're bust. You need to do this.
If I was a dog, you'd have took me out back with a fucking shotgun, mate.
If you were a horse, not even out back, just get me the curtains.
Come on, old Yeller, it's time to go.
Oh damn, he's dead.
Oh, he's dead. Right, I'm giving people.
So I think for the atmosphere, it all sort of sums it up for me. Is that we decided before the event, the two Johns that I was travelling with, to go and get a Mackey's. And obviously you guys were all at the Mackey's. And the absolute confusion of everyone else in that McDonald's when I walked through the door and your entire table clapped and cheered for me.
Oh, it's great.
We all got confused for that gay porn star we all like.
We're in the McDonald's. We were quite chilled, and we're like, Gaz has just pulled up. All right, yeah, we're gonna clap him in, lads. Let's go. And then there's like 8 or 9 of us just clapping Gaz in, and the rest of the McDonald's, even the staff, going, "What the fuck is going on?"
Do you not know who this man is? Right, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 because I didn't have a bad game because all of my opponents were fucking lovely gentlemen. Between Andy, Paul and Doug, you legends, you absolute legends. 5 out of 5.
Yeah, Nick, Paul and Stuart were bloody fantastic, great games, so 5 out of 5.
Yeah, same for me. Jacob, Robert and Aston were my 3 opponents. All 3 good guys, and everyone else that came up to us during the day to say hello was great as well. No, not a bad word to say.
5 out of 5 for me as well. I've met loads of people playing throughout the years, and seeing everyone together was awesome. John, Ken, great games, and Paul, you're a wanker. I mean, yeah, Paul was awesome.
How'd it hit first?
I was about to say all my opponents were great except Paul. Fuck you. But, nah. Love you, Paul.
We love you long time.
Long. Well, it wasn't very long for me.
Short
time.
I
didn't last long because he pummeled me into the ground. And robbed me of my honour.
You saying he went off early?
He is now the new Devil of Bolt Action now.
Nah.
It's Paul of War HQ is the new Devil of Bolt Action. I'm merely like the bottom bit.
All
of
I'm saying, Tove, is now I'm better than you.
No, you're not.
I beat Paul at the GT, so I'm better than you because he beat you. That's what I'm going with.
Do you want a game tomorrow at club? Smash your face in, mate.
I'm already playing Dan.
Oh, I bet you are. Oh, how convenient. Okay, so that's a 6 for that, right? Isn't it? 5, 5, 5, 5. Is that a 6 for an average score? No, 5.
It's a 5.
Oh.
Are you doing night school? Because we enrolled you.
I probably should, It's right. Next section. TO/organisation.
And this isn't just the one person. This is the entire team behind it.
Yeah. There's no man is a mountain. This is the whole organisational capabilities of the guys who put together Cambridge Too Far. We've already covered this a bit in the pack section. I think that a lot of that is also organisation. You know, making sure the pack says what you wanted to say. Blah 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 blah. So we'll focus more on the day, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
That's my thought. Well,
it didn't run particularly smooth, did
just because you didn't win, Dan.
I won my category, you motherfucker. I think, well, as an example, they always try and keep the clubs separate, which is great. So, first game, I'm playing Ian from our club. We went up to the TO and said, "Excuse me, we're from the same club." And 3 different tables all came up to the front at the same time and said, "Excuse me, there's 3 of us on a table." And they just went, "Oh, okay, then you play you and play you, and just find a spare table and carry on." It's like, oh, okay, brilliant. Thanks for that. And yeah, that kind of sums it all up for me, really. And we'll get on to the debacle of the points towards the end when Sheffield joins us.
I'm here.
Sheffield, I thought you died.
I've
You
been
stop putting your finger
lurking.
up his bum.
Really?
I've been lurking. I waited for my opportune moment. I've jumped Gaz. I've shanked him in the back. He's lying dead, bleeding. Down here, the disgusting interloper stealing my thunder. I am here, and I've been hiding in the background. But hello.
All right, Piers. God.
I did join the lurking just as you and you and Topher, Pete, were talking about how you'd done particularly well, and I just couldn't hear you over the sound of my vantage point above both of you.
One tournament a year, Sheffield keeps this moral high ground for one more year.
So what's that? I can't hear you over the sound of my
Look,
trumpets.
We'll come back to Sheffield just getting to slag everyone off. Sheffield.
No, it's alright.
What's your opinion on the organisation?
It variable. So I'll be honest, from my perspective, nothing really went too wrong. There was a moment at the end of round 2, and the round 3 people had just been drawn, and I was due to play the same person again. So I had to go up, just like Dan was just saying. I had to go up and say, "Oh, I'm playing the same person, second game in a row." And as we went up, another pair of people who had also just played each other had the same situation. So we just swapped opponents. But then I'm willing to forgive that a little bit because I'd come out of 2 draws. So it's sort of, you do tend to sit around the middle and end up playing everybody else who's also in a similar situation to you if you're sat smack in the middle as Mr. Mediocre. So I don't really mind because it was resolved really quickly. But I think we're going to talk about the bit at the end, aren't we, as a separate thing?
Yeah.
Well, just to put it in perspective, so I noticed first round that all of us juggers had been more or less put side by side over the tables, which was quite nice, to be honest. And then I actually asked after the whole what the hell went round on the opponents of the first round. I asked what the hell was up with that, and it was actually explained to me that there was a little bit of development on the Excel sheet they were using that probably didn't need to be done for the tournaments. They, it broken and they were trying to fix it while they were going. So,
because I know they also a week before the event they said if anyone's got any grudge matches, now's your time to declare them. Obviously, I famously challenged Paul, which was a very bad idea.
Didn't Paul challenge you?
No, Paul put the gauntlet out and then I took it up. Paul
right.
says, "Who wants to fight me?" And I said, "Go for it." So I knew that the first round would be kill points. And I was getting ready to play them on kill points, except that when they did the draw, they'd totally kind of forgotten. They'd totally forgotten the grudges. So rather than rearrange it, they just said, "Do it later." Even though we'd already told people, if you want to watch it from home, here's what time it's going to be starting, so that basically the people watch Paul playing Gaz rather than me playing Paul. Everyone was just like, "God, he's so ugly."
But damn, is he a lot thinner?
He's got a massive what?
so that meant that later on in the tournament they skipped the like people's placings, and so it wasn't really a true Swiss system in that they went, right, even though you should be playing you can now play that person who you should have played in the first round, and it was a very, very strange way of doing it.
I mean, organising 100 people's scores and getting them all right constantly is a little bit of a challenge, especially when you've got that many people that are going to have very similar scores. Separating them all out into individual games can be a bit tricky, but they've done it 3 times now and they've never had this before, so I don't understand why they had it this time.
I think I was going to say I can't work out why they need the same results twice from both of the people, because I mean if you're running a fairly casual sort of event day, it would have just been much easier if we'd just been able to put the players the result down on one bit of paper and get both people to sign it, because I think that possibly one of the things that went wrong that's led to some of the confusion is that in having 2 people submitting the same set of results, you either duplicate it or somebody's results are missing, and it seems like it seemed an unnecessary step. But
I think some people will have got their scores in and their opponents will have written the scores out like the other person, so it looks like they've won 5-4 and the other person's won 5-4 at the same time. So I think there's a bit of confusion.
Let's do it. Let's go headlong into it then. The points. So, to cut a long story short, when the prizes were being read out and the scores were being read out right at the end, when you go to a tournament, you do the maths in your head and you kind of work out whereabouts you reckon you came. And even though I was right at the bottom, I knew I was at the bottom, it's fine. Some other members of the team had actually done quite well. Quite a lot of them hadn't lost a single game. So we knew they'd be in, top 20. And then the names came out, the names rolled by, and people's names just weren't getting called out. It was just like, oh, that's weird. Maybe we're mistaken. What's going on? Roll on the next day when we saw this, and then, well, to be fair, at the end of the day, Steve stood up and said, here we go, here's the points. If there's any mistakes, because I know you guys get antsy over it, come let us know and we'll correct it. Go over the points the next day though when they uploaded on Facebook. Half of the Juggernaut scores were all wrong, completely and utterly wrong.
Yeah,
that comes down to whether that's a mistake made for data for the input for it, or mistake made by the sheets, or the handwriting's not legible. There's quite a few that can go in there just to play defense here.
I mean, that was kind of my point about the. I realise that they've got the 2 people submitting their results so that it's double blind, so that you can fill in the column. But actually, it does lead to more possibility of an error. So it's unfair to point the finger at either of the TOs, like Dave or Steve, because it's completely plausible that the people filling them in filled them in wrong. But clearly something's gone wrong. So I should say, for me specifically, my score was, I think, correct in the end. So I finished 30th, I think it was, and the total points for missions was correct for me. I made it that I was on 10. Sheet says 10. I think it might have been 1 different for secondaries, but actually it didn't matter, because even if it was 1 higher or 1 lower, it wouldn't have changed my position in the standing. It's my opponent that I think they got wrong, that I think they've counted my win as his win, because if I've come out of 2 draws and I was drawn against somebody else on 2 draws, then my 3rd game should have been against, if the Swiss system had been working properly, somebody who also had several draws. And he said that he had a major and a minor when we went in. Sorry, a minor win and a minor loss. And so then what happened was that he was placed higher than me and actually got the 3rd place Axis trophy, which, if what our understanding was correct, actually he shouldn't have done. It should have been mine. Now, on the one hand, I don't really care too much. I didn't go to win silverware. But when he thinks that he's in the same position as me and then he loses, why does he finish above me in the table? It's just a really odd one. So my score's correct, but it's not just my score. I mean, does someone want to talk about Ian and Grimes? Because they had
Oh, no. I have just noticed that my opponent last game got screwed. I had a minor loss, and it's down as a draw.
Yeah, Ian is the biggest one, isn't it? So
yeah.
we've mentioned Juggernaut Grimes already. So this is probably his first tournament since last Cambridge, I think. Probably his first game since last Cambridge even. And he got 2 major wins and a minor loss, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he was somewhere down in like 40th with
57.
about 4 points or 5 points.
He was 54th. He should have
57th, I've got it here.
Is it 57th? So he should have had 12 major objective points. That's 2 major victories for 5 apiece and a minor loss for 2. He should have been on 12, but on the sheet he's got 8. I think is that right for Ian?
Yeah. No, that's for Grimes. Sorry, for Ian. Yeah, Ian got a major win, a minor win, and a draw. So he got 8.
12 as well.
Yeah, so he got 12 points overall, but on the sheet he's down as 8. Now he got given 55th in the rankings in overall, and with his score, he should have actually been. We worked out about 3rd place minor because he was playing French.
Yeah, it'd have been 11th overall.
Yeah,
I don't think he would have been 3rd minor. Because
4th minor, wasn't it?
He's 4th minor.
For Ian,
Yeah.
it depends whether his secondaries were correct. If his secondaries were correct and his primaries were wrong, which is what we think, then he's 4th minor powers just.
Yeah.
But the point is he's 40 places below where he should be.
It's 51 places.
Is it 51? Oh.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. And then when we tried to tell them on the Facebook group, 4 of our 8 players that we took on the day have got the wrong scores. I made a little pithy comment saying, was Stevie Wonder keeping score? And they sent back saying, or maybe Stevie Wonder filled in your scorecards. And it's like, well, yeah, that is a possibility. But to get it wrong on over half of our team, and a lot of other people are complaining that their scores are wrong as well, maybe it's not the people filling their scorecards, maybe it's the people filling in the scores. So I think there was, like Sheffield said, I think there's, because of all the double scorecards being handed in, I think they were just recording points willy-nilly and just not double checking it.
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate that it's really hard. Like, we're not. The complaint is not that we think that either of the TOs have done a terrible job. It's that for something happened this year that hasn't happened at the previous years, and it's particularly frustrating for those of us about whom it sort of matters. So, like for me and Pete and Toph, we knew roughly where we came, sort of top 3rd, middle, bottom 3rd. We knew, and so our scores reflect that. So if I'd been 1 higher or 1 lower, a couple of secondaries different, none of us 3 care. But it's for the 2 or 3 of us who did well, who should be placing higher than me and Pete, who didn't, despite the fact they did better. It's not about whether they got trophies or prizes, but we do like to compare our rankings against each other. It's fun to know how you did relative to all of the other people that you regularly game with. And it's an unfair slight on Grimes and Ian that they look on the face of that score chart like they did a much worse job than they actually did.
Well, and to be fair, we'll get that. Oh, but you're the competitive people. What you want about this for? It's a nice event. That's nice, but the guys we're on about, Ian and Grimes, they're probably the 2 of the nicest blokes you'll ever play, and they're not that competitive at all.
No, the look on Ian's face as well when we finally got the scores out, and it was like he didn't get anywhere near the top. Everyone was so confused.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it wasn't for Luke, who came second at Allies, Grimes and Ian would have been the ones to help us win the team challenge. And if they'd have fucked Luke's score up as well, we wouldn't have been nowhere near the team challenge, even though between the 4 of us, we'd had 1 loss. It just wouldn't have made any sense.
At the end of the day, from my perspective, it's called a tournament. Then people are going to be asked about where they finish. If it's a theme day, when we went to play at Foundry and had that massive game at Foundry.
Oh, that was fun.
That was a great day out.
But it was like, who the fuck cared who won? Like, we just had a good day. If that was like a whole day's worth of gaming, like, no one cares. But it is a tournament. It's an organised event that people genuinely care and want to compare where they finish. And I think that's really important to get right.
Yeah. Well, one of the comments when we put on the Facebook group saying, I think some of these scores are wrong. One of the lads said, well, what does it matter? It's like, well, they wouldn't have given out prizes for 1st and 2nd place and best team and all the rest of it. And they wouldn't have had even tournament points given out for each mission if it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So that's why, mate, because we want to know where we've come. We want to know how well we've done. I want to be able to look at
mediocre I am, damn it.
Yeah, I want to look at the other 8 Juggernauts and go, you're all my bitches.
Yeah, we want to know where we came relative to last year.
I mean,
as the
Juggernaut bottom bitch, I have like no qualms in this fight. It doesn't affect me because seriously, who cares how I know I was at the bottom? I had a shit day for it. It's fine. I'm willing to accept that. But just to say, well, it could be it's just you guys putting the slip in wrong. Well, how many tournaments do we go to where they don't have this problem? Something definitely happened, and I don't think it's necessarily fair just to put all the blame on the players. Another thing, after speaking to Grimes especially, he was absolutely elated at the end of the day, thinking how well he'd done, because he'd been abroad for a number of years. He hasn't had a chance to play. This was like his third bolt action game since last Cambridge, so he was absolutely over the moon at how well he'd done. And then to find out that had all been taken away because someone somewhere made a mistake is really disheartening. And I asked him, I bet you'd have preferred to have been absolutely stomped by a power cheese list, and then you'd at least know where you stand. He said, yeah, that hurt him more than potentially coming up against a cheese list. And I agree. I could totally agree and understand that. To get robbed from a victory that you rightly earned is worse and a worse experience than just coming up against, a 23 dice dual Katusha list.
Yeah, it's hard. I think it's because it was built up a little bit at the end as well. Like when the scores were read out and like no names were being heard, and then when my name was called, it was clear because people among us, we knew that that if I was middle of the pack, roughly Juggernauts, me and Spurley, that it was whether you came before or after me and Spurley. And so when my name was called and Grimes and Ian both hadn't, like Grimes properly looked quite. I don't know. Angry is the wrong word. He was clearly frustrated.
Disappointed, yeah. I'd say.
I think disheartened is about the right word.
Yeah. And it was just really hard because kind of like it was hard to know what to say to like one of my friends who's just feeling really annoyed that I've got credit for something that he hasn't, and he should have had more credit.
It just adds a sour note to an otherwise brilliant day. You wouldn't be going home on the car on the way home. You wouldn't be talking about how well you did and how great a day you had and how you can't wait to the next tournament. You don't want to be talking about, are you sure I only came 54th? I swear I did better. That's not the conversation you want to have. And it's all good going, why does it matter? Mate, you've gone to a tournament, of course it matters.
It was all right. I mean, our car was good because we had Dan and Luke carrying us so hard in our car. And then me and Pete, who didn't do so well, at least knew we beat you guys. So we were loving it over in the victory wagon.
I was knackered. I was knackered at the end of the day, carrying all those juggers on my shoulders for that entire day.
Hey, thanks, Dan. I appreciate you carrying me. I'm one heavy motherfucker.
You're welcome for the game, Matt, guys.
All I'm going to say is the true sign of a good competitive player is understanding that sometimes you have off days and coming to terms with that, understanding it and getting through it.
You mean you got owned?
yeah, but you know what? I didn't flip my shit. I didn't like storm off. I didn't just go, I've been trying my very best to not go, I got fucking had by that.
You guys might have talked about this already while I wasn't here, but probably my favourite moment of the day was somewhere through Mission 2, and I was about like in turn 3 or 4 of Mission 2, and suddenly Topher appears at the side of the board and just looks at me and catches my eye and doesn't say anything and just shakes his head and walks off. and I knew in that moment, without any words being expressed, that he'd been absolutely stomped. And I watched him slowly walk off with the sad music playing in the background, round to try and get a look of pity from the next Juggernaut along, which I think was Pete.
Did not happen. You guys
so he came up to me and went, have you beat him already? That's harsh. I mean, you might want to tell Paul to keep it up. And Joe turned around and went, no, I've lost. It's like,
I think it's really
there's 40 minutes left, mate.
So many.
You can always tell when Toph's done really well in his games, especially if he's finished like an hour early, because he'll come sidling up to your table and almost jump in front of your face, sprinting, going, "Oh, haven't you won yet?" Oh.
So my earliest memory of Toph was the very first Imps Open. It was Demolition. I remember it very, very, very well.
Oh, I remember that one.
Demolition, and like half an hour into a 2-hour game, it's like, yeah, finished. Like, what, did he concede? I went, no, I beat him. Like, what? What? 2 turns, yeah, beat him. Went.
You guys, and not even just the Juggernauts, everyone I spoke to on the day has been really trying to trigger me.
Oh no.
And really trying to get a rise out of me, going, fucking sucks to be you, done it, Toph, you wanker, aren't you? Shit, no. I was just like, you know what? Sometimes shit just doesn't go your way, and it's fine, because we're going to the British Bolt Action League next week. I'm going to be back with a fucking vengeance. It's fine.
Yeah, and just to offer, just on the points thing, if there was a lot of ours wrong, it means there's a lot of our opponents wrong. Like my third game opponent Paul was actually should have had one more point than he did.
Mm.
So.
And none of those people are going to write in and go, oh, by the way, guys, I didn't finish 10th. I actually finished 90th.
My final point is that it's all good and well saying, if the score's wrong, just let us know and we'll change it later. But the thing is, people have already gone home. People have already got their prizes. People have already got their trophies. It doesn't matter anymore. Once you leave the building, it's done. So it's all good updating on Facebook the little spreadsheet so you can see that you was 50th and now you're 20th. It doesn't matter anymore. You know, the damage has been done.
Hey Gaz, you want to get wound up? If my
Is this going to be about the draw thing last week?
No. If my score had been correctly put in, you'd have been above me.
Motherfucker.
As it turns out, we have the exact same score.
And on that note, Gaz, how are you going to go into a ranked organisation?
Come back to me.
Let him get over that. I'm going to give it a 3. It wasn't as bad. It wasn't as good as previous Cambridges, but it's not the worst I've been at for a War Games event.
I'm going to go for a 2, I think. Just because the other ones were so good, and the excuses of, oh, well, it was your fault, not ours. It's just, no, mate, it's clearly not. It's yours. So, yeah, not good enough.
Sheffy?
Oh, brutal. I don't know. It's either a 3 or a 4. I think I'm going to go for a 3. I just think that it was the way it soured the end of the day, because otherwise, actually, it would have been really hard to fault it until that point. And while it's not me that it's affected, it just tinged the. I felt bad for outscoring people who I know I had no business outscoring. So it takes the edge off the mutual celebration, and it's just so unnecessary because there's no reason why it was wrong before, and it would have been so easily avoidable. And it's no one's fault, but it's just frustrating.
As someone who had to sit in the car on the way home with the two most heavily affected, I'm gonna have to give it a 2. And to echo Sheffield's problem, it's the day was, for the most part, fine. Yeah, there's a bit of a wait between rounds as they sort the scores out, and everyone was standing there going, wah, you know. But that happens everywhere. That's not a big issue. It's just something happened with that spreadsheet, and as much as I want to give them a higher score, unfortunately, that's fundamental. And I'm really sorry. I don't want to wind anyone up or offend the people who organised it. They did a great job, but it's just such a sour note at that last bit. I really can't give it higher, and I really want to.
I think one bonus point that we should consider, especially compared to the GT, is that the tables were laid out in order. So
yes,
well done to the TOs for doing it.
For
1 to 90 in order rather than having 1, 37, 58, 3, 2, 17. You know,
you get one Topher math sticker. I'll
No, he
post it
doesn't.
to you.
No, he doesn't, because he said there were 90 tables, whereas there were 90 players. There were only 45 tables. Why can people not do tournament maths? This drives me completely insane, especially as on Sunday afternoon I spent all that time working out the maths of the points for all 94 competitors for all of you idiots, and then you have the cheek to say something like there were 90 tables. I could just rip my mic off.
There wasn't 45 tables, there was 46.
Well,
sorry,
yes,
47.
Yes, there was a special table just for you.
Gaz,
it
have
was
you come to
94.
Yeah, no, I did. Well, my point is that Dan had doubled the round number, not that he was being completely imprecise.
At this point, I'm going to abstain from my number. I'm going to go with I'm going to go down the middle 3 because I'm with Topher in this. I did appallingly on the day, and the only reason I got a win in the last game was because I played my mate who I taught how to play. So bad day for me. Didn't really affect me, but I don't like the fact that it affected other people. I think that's one of the biggest, harping on about my own events. It was my own frame of reference, really. But I felt bad at the end of the last Imps Open. I can't remember. Was it Luke?
Yeah.
Were drawing, and
you dice rolled it off and Luke lost.
I don't feel bad for that. It's glorious.
Yeah.
3 sets. I had primary, secondary, and tertiary sets of numbers to make sure to not, to avoid draws. And somehow they were identical all the way through. And I was like, literally last second, like, uh-oh. Fuck. Roll a dice for it. But yeah, so I can actually, I can understand that it's not great when it happens. So I'm gonna go 3. Pretty solid.
So I'm gonna round that to a 2.5 score overall.
That's 2.6.
I know it's a 2.6, but it's gonna throw my maths off. We'll just do 2.5. It's fine.
Everything throws your maths off.
Well, just
Shut up,
Yeah,
Pete.
it's fine, it's fine.
Just shut up. Right, the final one. Prizes.
The trophies looked brilliant.
Trophies. There's a lot of trophies. So it was first, second, and third, and then was it first, second, and third? Axis, allies,
No,
and
no.
minor.
No, there was
First,
first,
second,
Sorry,
for
go on, Pete.
Allies, Axis, and Minor. Overall winner, and then there was some other bits for.
Yeah, there was best theme. Had a trophy, and I did. Was there? There wasn't a most supportive. Did best army have a trophy? Was that the other one? There were extra ones that were actually trophies.
There was theme,
Yeah.
painted, best table, and cheesy.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, the table and cheesy didn't have trophies as such. They were just
Yeah.
a sort of a recognition, I think.
Though that
The
pack,
actual-
that pack of cheese looked really tasty. Like
Oh,
next
man.
time, I'm going to
I
take
was
a
actually
horrendousness
annoyed.
just so I can have the cheese. Yeah.
They were robbed. My opponent with the full cheese board in game 3. No, he was the one that.
You need some. I think there might have been a bit too much salt in that cheese. So I think you need to watch your input there, chef.
So prizes for me, even though they didn't get as much prize support as what they said they did last year, I still think there was a fair chunk up there.
Yeah.
I was going to make this point. It's
Oh,
really
that's a lot of stuff, and I'm not bothered that not everyone got a prize because fuck me, 100 prizes. That's a lot of stuff.
I was gonna say, like, it's weird, isn't it? Because your perspective is jaded by your expectation. Because Cambridge has always been prize for everyone, biggest prize pool ever. Especially last year, it was absolutely massive. And then this year, there was only enough prizes for about the top third of the table.
Only, yeah.
Yeah, but then only that's any other event you'd be like,
I know.
yes, that's sort of this
It's
vibe.
like-
But suddenly you go to Cambridge, it's like, oh no.
I'll put it in perspective.
The one
I'm
thing-
30. I'm 30th place, and I got a box set of French infantry. 30th.
And
The
it's
one
even-
thing I will say though with that is, do you remember End of the Beginning?
Yes.
He did like first, second, third, Axis, blah blah blah, best painted, blah blah blah, and then to run down the prizes to pick up, it wasn't where you finished; it was painted. The runner-up, best theme. I'm only saying this because I probably could have picked something up, and it's about the only way I probably could have picked something up. But
Certainly won't be with your skill.
Whee!
Whee! It's just the pained look on Steve's face when he said, when he's doing the final, debrief. And he's like, yeah, I don't really have enough prizes. I'm like, it's such a weird dichotomy. You've got enough prizes for like 40 people, but at the same time, it's just like, this isn't good enough.
Yeah, it's what I like about Steve, because he actually cares about everybody that's there, and he's like, I'd love to give a prize to everyone, but he's looking at his pile going, there's not enough.
Yeah, I think a little shout out's got to go to John from Warlord as well, because
Yeah.
he came across all the way from the States to come and play in the event. I think it was this time. He was there shouting out everyone and interacting with the whole community as much as he could. And not only
Actually
did
cleared
we
a
get,
rolled up for me.
not only did we get the laser engraved plastic trophies from Steve like we usually do for the Cambridge winners, but John also brought a bunch of the little resin Warlord trophies with the shell going through the wall and gave those out to first, second, and third. So I thought that was a nice touch
The
as well.
infamous nipple trophies.
Yeah.
Typical Americans turning up at the end, claiming the glory. And
This
Hey,
is
if it
how
works,
we
it
do
works, right?
yeah, no, we're joking. He's a great guy.
No. John's a top bloke. Actually, because he was at Cambridge last year, it's one of those things where it's like, I know he's going to be over for it, so I look forward to seeing him there.
I will say one thing though, to put me in the line of fire. So the best guy who won best theme won it because he brought 6 machine gun teams, and that was the quoted reason he won it. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
So,
6 machine guns. Who's lost his mind? No wonder I wasn't allowed more than 2 bloody snipers.
thinking from my army that I researched, I wasn't expecting to win anything. Let's just get that out there straight away. My army meticulously, everything that it was in it was used at platoon level. They even got down to the RAF records of what was used in what. Hence why my list was a bit shit. Everything was done. The cars were all named and registered. They've all got the names on. I made my own decals with the registration plates and the names of what they actually were. The data sheet, the little sheet, all army and what I did and what they were doing. I put a lot of effort into customizing a lot of the dudes. So you look down at the models, swaps, equipment swaps. I'm just looking at all the stuff behind me now. My objectives and stuff. Built the Poleston AA truck. Built it from the ground up, from bits and bobs. Felt a bit annoying that it was not only just me that had done a lot of effort in their army and put stuff together. I was talking to another couple of the guys that had put a lot of effort into and modelling and, theme. To have someone win it because they took 6 MMGs felt like a bit of a cheat. It felt sour, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I mean, going even as far as even as far as Gaz's display board, the whole thing was scratch built with a nice desert theme everywhere. A crashed, was it a Messerschmitt plummeted into the sand, and loads of tank traps and barricades across the roads and stuff like that. It was all really well done and themed around the whole RAF platoon that Gaz wanted to do. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of beautifully painted armies, but there weren't many better themed armies, and certainly not just by taking 6 MMGs because they're the shittest unit in the game, so you get a prize for taking.
I'm gonna defend Tibbs on this one actually, and defend Cambridge. It's not because I disagree with anything Gaz has said. I think he's right. Gaz's army was beautiful and really was the best themed army on the day. My issue is that actually I just think they call it the wrong thing. So for the last 2 years, they've been pretty clear that the themed list isn't the thing that wins that award is not the one that's most historically accurate, most plausible, most themed, as we would normally use the word. The list that wins it is the one that's most interesting, most different from the other lists, that makes you think and go, what on earth have you done here? And so it doesn't get awarded to the best painted or things like that. So they shouldn't call it the best themed army. But actually, as an interesting thing, I reckon there's a good case to be made that was the right decision, because the only sort of person who would bring 6 machine guns is someone game for a laugh or a moron.
But I agree. No one's going to be impressed by that, are they? No one was impressed with that army that it took 6 machine guns. No one was impressed with the paint job. No one even remembered the army.
Well, the TO obviously did.
No, but don't you remember? I'm going to get this wrong. Hopefully, a Cambridge listener would able to correct me. Didn't the one that won it last year, wasn't it like bonkers and full of like home guard and things like that, and just weird and wonderful units? It wasn't themed at all. It was just weird.
It was Mike Wilkins. I'm pretty sure it was Mike Wilkins, and it was his LOLO army.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry. But this is the thing. It's not a themey army. It's a weird and interesting army. Yeah. And I reckon that Cambridge has set a good precedent that that's what that award is. They just call it the wrong thing. Your army, Gaz, was the best themed army there, I reckon. But for what they've given that award to in the past, I reckon giving it to the 6 MMG one, it's not a million miles away.
Like, it's the lunatic award rather than the theme.
I was going to say that's my argument. I think you should have 2 awards: one for best historical theme, and then one for oddball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Wacky Warehouse Award,
Yeah. Just throwing it out there, by the way. I don't think I should have won best painted. I know, like, some tournaments I've been to before, I've been a bit annoyed because I haven't won it. Because go to the tournament, especially Dan, to go there and win. My aim at tournaments is to get painting awards. I've got a shelf full of them, not being big-headed, I fucking have. But I don't think my force was the best painted. I, myself, looked at it afterwards because I rushed it a bit to get it done in time. I went, nah, I ain't going to win that. if I win, I don't think I deserve it because I haven't put my all into this army. So just so you know, I don't think I should have won that best painted at all.
Again, to put the other side of it, I think that Cambridge are again quite good at this. I do agree with Gaz, actually. I was thinking about it, that I think that they were wrong this year, because I think best painted is the thing. It's not just about the quality of the miniatures. It's about how they all tie together and look good as an army, and how they're presented as a whole. And actually, the more I thought about it, the more that the army that did win best painted is an absolutely gorgeous army. There's no question about it. It probably is one of the best painted armies there. But there were armies that, as a whole thing together, looked better than that one did. And I think there are different armies that could have been in the running.
That's all personal opinion, though, isn't it? And
is.
That comes down to how you select it. So I think this one was done by the organisers. They just walked around, picked their favourite. In which case, good on them. You know.
They didn't pick Topher, which is exactly the right call.
As someone who's pretty average at painting and only likes to win awards just to fuck Gaz right off, I'm fine.
Yeah.
What's
So they came round. They came round and had a look at all the armies. The organisers came round and had a look at all the armies, and I was there like, I quite happily got what I deserved when they looked at mine, which is a quick glance and just walk away, and it's like, yep, that's exactly what I expect from them.
Damn
Thank
straight.
you very much. Just a quick, and walk on.
So here's my thoughts about best painting. Now, there's two different ways of judging this, and I've been to lots of tournaments where it's been done both ways, and I agree with how it's been done. I think you need, because I do exactly the same thing, which is you get your organising staff to go around, have a look, and choose what they think is the best. Can you imagine 100 bloody slips saying which army they think's the best? That's just going to overload the staff.
Nightmare.
So I think in this case, I don't think that player vote is suitable. I think I am going to run this year at Imps. I am going to do player vote and TO vote. I'm going to do two. And if they're the same, so be it. Double prize, well done, you've painted well. But I want to give it to both. I want to try both see how it works out.
I mean, for a 100-man tournament, getting the guys to do the vote would have just been insane. So
yeah, it'd have been nice.
I mean, I think, was it Alistair Unicum from Scotland who won Best Painter?
Yes.
I played his army at the GT. It is absolutely painted fantastically. So basically, Sheffield, fuck you. He deserved it.
Yeah, fuck you, Sheffield.
So this, one last point from me. This brings me on to, I'll make it short and sharp, an interesting point about display boards. So my army the army look a bit better than it should have because it was on this big fuck off display board with a cool looking crash plane. Personally, I don't think it was that as well painted as it could have, but it looked good. Same with Tom, his Stalingrad Russian force. It looked fucking spectacular on that Stalingrad board. But what I think the judges were going around looking at miniatures and not looking at display board. I think that's quite an important thing to take away from stuff when people are looking at these armies themselves, not just what they're on.
Well, I approve of that because I don't want bolt action to become what 40k is, in that you go to like these big events and you see everyone's got LEDs and motors and wingy-mabobs, all like contraptions all on their display boards, and their pyrotechnics, and it looks like some kid with their volcano experiment. And you just like,
yeah, well, they win it purely on display board and not actual army.
Yeah,
painting.
and they've got speakers in there, they've got death metal pumping out, so you can see their corn army and the flashing red lights and blah blah blah. It's like, calm it down a bit.
You've been that guy.
No, I have not. Name one display board I've made where I've been that guy.
Isn't your one with your Canadians on it like full of craters and weird stuff, a little bit OTT?
Yeah, so it's like a town centre with some craters. But how is that?
Come on, it looks like the moon, mate.
Oh,
is this just I told you to fuck off?
Yeah, it is. I was trying to be nice and play devil's advocate about the painting thing that I think is about more than, and you were just like taking it as if I was all just having a massive go at Alistair. I'm not. His army's much better than mine. I think it was the best painted army there. I just think that actually it's subjective, and if it had been me, there'd have been other things in the running.
I know. But if we all agreed, it'd make a shit cast. So there you go.
Yeah, no,
it would, yeah.
Right.
Scores on the doors.
doors.
I'm going to give a 4. last year it would have been a 5. It's only a 4 because it's not one for every person, which is the best thing you can possibly get. But it's close. I mean, it's still probably one of the best prize giving tournaments out there, even if it's a bit of a step down from what has been in the past.
You've got high expectations. I'm giving it a 5. It had 30 odd prizes for just about, you know, what more can you ask for? They've tried their best to get one for everyone.
Oh no, I mean that's why. Don't take 4 as a bad score, but you need somewhere else to go because the top is obviously a prize for everyone. It's not the 4's a score to be good, like proud of.
Yeah, see, my top's a little different to your top. I
didn't win it, so I didn't come away with any prizes, so you can all fuck off.
Yeah, I think the fact that I didn't win anything, I'm giving this to 1. No, I'm joking. I'm with this. I think the fact that so many people there, 5 for me, because they did very hard, and that's a lot of fucking prizes they gave out. So yeah, 5 for me.
Yeah, I mean, last couple of years we've been spoilt really, and you could even grade this a 6 out of 5 for prices for recent years. This year, just 5 out of 5. There's medals for all the top, medals for all the categories, and prizes for 30 or 40 people.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah. 5 out of 5. I think to give it anything else, when I got a box of infantry for placing 30th, would make me an absolutely horrendous douche.
Well, now you've all made me look like a dick.
You're gonna score
That's
down.
our job.
I mean, it's still a 4.8.
It is a 4.8.
So that's 0.2 is all they've dropped by. So stop making me out to be the devil of bolt action. We all know that's Paul now. It's not me.
No, that's you.
Yeah, you're the whipping boy bolt action now.
Oh, go away.
Are we going to round this up or down?
Round it up, because if not, you'll all tell me to fuck off. So do it at 5.
Because to beat you to the maths, because I can. We're at 23.55.
23.5.
That's basically a 24. Let's be honest. You always round up.
Let's do it. 24 out of 30 is the Juggernaut reward for Cambridge.
Solid score.
That's solid. For saying the GT got 25, and we have no idea if that's correct or not. So I think that's about right to say they're on par.
Yeah.
I think it may sound like we've come across as quite salty about this whole endeavour, especially over the issues we've raised. I think, at least from me, it's only because it's such a well-run, pedigreed tournament. It just makes those little things shine up more, if that makes sense.
Well, the last
expectations are high.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last couple of years we've done Cambridge. If we were doing the podcast then and we would have been reviewing it, it would have been like 29, 30 out of 30, because there's nothing you could say bad about it.
Yeah.
Steve does a brilliant job.
Well, that's why we keep going back.
There's many asses to be kissed in this regard.
That's why it's the largest tournament.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's
definitely.
why even when it's all comped up, we're there going, well, what's the comp? How do we play? We want to play, you know?
Yeah. So, closing thoughts then. Obviously, the news has gone out there. This is at least for the foreseeable future, the last Cambridge Too Far.
Yeah.
So they've cited reasoning as to why they can't do any more, as apparently the support in their own local clubs dried up. So there's not enough people to keep running it.
You know what? I get that. So it's on a lot smaller scale, but so Imps Open this year. So last year we sold out of 40 tickets. This year we're only aiming at 30 because we're going to go for a smaller number. So far, yeah. Mm-hmm. How many of those are Lincoln locals?
2.
1, Nick.
Ooh.
Half of them are us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Really?
Local is going, and at that point I just went, right, if this doesn't pick up, I'm not going to run them here anymore. I don't see the point, because like I can see what Steve's saying, people traveling to you, but when you've got no local support there, the thing there is no tables, no scenery. If no one's playing bolt action, the scenery ain't going to be there. The support for it isn't going to be there. What's the point?
I mean, if you pick up on the things that we've picked up on for this review, things like the organisation, the tournament scores, the terrain, it all comes back to support. That's the one factor which is what it all comes down to. It's local support. So I think if this is a scene of how much extra effort Steve's having to go through to hold it all together, I do not blame him. as sad as it is, as much as I'll miss going to Cambridge every year, I'd much rather it be stopped and held in high regard than to see it continue and continue, but then just gradually just fall apart as it struggles under its own weight.
Like Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he does it again next year, it could be a Cambridge too far.
Oh. Top level pun game. I'm going to rank that pun a solid 6 out of 10. I've heard better, but that is solid.
I think you're generous to call it solid. It was loose and splattery.
So it's strange because I wonder what will rise to fill the boots. Because everything dies that leaves a vacuum. So what's going to be the big tournament in March coming up?
I'm going to put us on the spit and reckon we could do a Juggernaut Open.
Shall we do a Juggernaut Open? There are murmurings. We've got the venue now.
I'm in for it.
Yeah.
You want to go to a tournament and not play a Juggernaut? Boom.
That is
What, you mean I can't win?
No, you can't.
You'd be TOing it.
Oh, God, I didn't sign up for this shit.
Well,
What's going on?
either that, or when we do the Juggernaut Open next year, you can be the ringer and you can bring a shit list on purpose.
Gumby list.
Yeah, you can be the Gumby.
You mean like he claimed he was this year?
We'll build the list for him. None of
Mate.
that. Oh, my list is shit. Honestly, fuck you. Because between you, Dan, and Paul, all telling me your lists are shit and then going off and winning, you can all fuck off. Punching liars.
3 MMGs, 2 Goliaths.
Oh, God, yeah, that would be shit.
Yeah, Goliaths, MMG. No, not MMG teams.
Anti-tank rifles.
The
All
LMG
inexperienced.
teams.
Make me take HMG teams.
But yeah, hopefully March next year, we as the Juggernauts will have something in place to launch. All we need to do is get our host master to tell us when his hall's free, so we can book it out.
Yeah. And that said, if Steve, or 2D6 Lodge at all change their mind and want to put Cambridge back on, because then you never know, they might. A lot happens in a year, then it'll be back on, won't it?
I think I'd just like to add to that. I think it'd be very wise of Warlord to listen to the feedback from Steve, and I hope that the Cambridge people pass on some of their thoughts and stuff to Warlord Games in regards to GT and things, because I think one of the things that makes it quite so hard to run a tournament like that is all of the different competing, you might have talked about this already, all of the different competing things you've got to balance, and if they could do something about that, the different material they've got, and just organise it a little bit more nicely, it'd make the job of every TO in the country just that little bit easier.
Just fix bolt action. Just fix bolt action. Yeah, just fix it.
Yeah.
Just fix it. You
Just need a nice
If Warlord
weighty
want
FAQ.
if Warlord want a group of competent players that are, good at learning rules and stuff like that, the Juggernauts might be open to do some proofreading for you, just to make sure it's all written properly.
I thought you were about to go. There's some guys at War HQ.
I don't know. I mean, the guy who edits the Juggernaut Bolt Action podcast is really shit, so I wouldn't listen to anything he has to say. I heard he came 70th in the last tournament he went in, so,
It's a good thing for him that humble pie is low fat.
That's fine. Count the fucks I give.
On a serious note, though, if Steve and the 2D6 Lodge get the passion back for running Cambridge and get it to what it was, last year and the year before, I'm all for that, mate.
Also, feel free to come to our tournament and tell us how badly we run it.
We've got a special compy set of restrictions for you that you've got to comply to.
You must all take anti-tank rifles, and you must all take MMG teams. The Topher specials.
The Dutch are fucking banned.
The Dutch are banned from imps.
No Dutch.
Nothing wrong with them, mate. I don't know.
Right.
Mate.
So before we all go, let's have a quick break, and then let's talk about our prep for the British Bolt Action League, and then we'll leave you all to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So the last segment for tonight is not Mr. Blooby's here, Blooby, but we're doing a bit of Bolt Action League prep for next week.
Yeah.
By prep, we mean we've given ourselves one evening to play one game and 4 days to kind of psych ourselves up because we've left it so late. So, how are we preparing, Pete?
I have one model to paint. It's sat in front of me in its base coat, and I want to paint it now.
Yeah. Are you taking Japs or are you changing it up and taking Germans?
I'm taking the Japs. I have not had enough time to even look through the Germans for what I could do.
No. What about you, Toph?
I've been so struggling with this because I've been so focused on the build up to Cambridge. I kind of forgot that we've got another competitive tournament to go to a week afterwards. And this is the British Bolt Action League. This is our meat and potatoes.
This is no holds barred.
Yeah, so I'm like, what the fuck do I do? So I finally settled on a British list, but I do now have a shit ton of painting to do in a week. So I'm kind of upset that we've not got a Hobby Lobby, because I could do with putting this in the Hobby Lobby. So the next 4 days now, including editing a podcast to make sure it gets out anytime in the realistic future, I've got to get 2 Shermans, a carrier, and a horse toe painted.
Do you want to borrow 2 Shermans and a horse?
I mean, it might come to that, but should be all right.
I need to borrow a medium anti-tank gun off you, so we'll do a trade for the day.
I'd like to get it done because, I want it to all look pretty, but it just...
Well, the way you paint tanks, it only take 4 seconds to do anyway.
You can fart them out in an evening.
But yeah, I'm actually excited. It's the first tournament I'm going to where War HQ Paul was actually TOing it.
Yeah, it should be good.
And it's being held at Warlord HQ. And I think there's still tickets going, actually, if you're listening to this early enough. If you want to come.
Grab your ticket now.
Yeah.
It's close for us. It's only like a 40-minute drive.
Yeah. Are you coming with us, Sheffield, or do you have family
No, sadly not. I work on Sundays and Saturdays.
1 tournament a year.
Still beats Pete.
No. I don't need the practice, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be good, but because this is the first tournament, even beyond the GT, where the organizer has gone straight up. This is competitive. Bring your shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like even beyond the GT, which kind of hinted at it and was very vague about the whole thing. The pack for the British Bolt Action is like, nope, this is competitive. Get your shit together. Come down. So I'm actually kind of like, shit, what am I going to see? You know what I mean? I'm expecting some absolutely horrendous shit, which is kind of hilarious, really. We'll see what comes down. I know
I'm expecting to get trashed every game.
But then at the same time, it's single platoon only. So it's like, well, what can you do with a single platoon? What can other people do with a single platoon?
You take Soviets. That's what you do.
Well,
if you only got 1 platoon, you take Soviets.
That would be great if I hadn't promised to not bring them out again.
Well, whose fault is
the
that?
TO specifically asked you to bring them out.
Yeah, but Pete made me promise to not bring my Soviets out, so I'm bringing my Brits out.
That's true.
So, I can't win. It's going to be really interesting, though. I can't wait for it. It's really... Because it's the first of a series, isn't it? There's 4 throughout the country in a year. I still don't know how it works. Does this mean that if we do well with this one, does that mean we have to go to the rest to have a shot of winning the whole league?
We just send Dan and he'll carry us all around all of them.
I don't want to have to fucking go to Scotland.
What's wrong with Scotland?
It's 5 hours away and I'm poor.
If we win 2 out of the 4, I think we've got a good shout of winning it overall anyway, haven't we?
Okay, so we've at least got to go to like Manchester and or Cardiff.
Yeah, Cardiff's not too far away, is it?
Nah, Manchester.
Yeah, but it is Cardiff.
So yeah. Also, do you have to take the same list to each one?
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
No. Okay, that's cool then. That's fine.
They'll just 4 individual tournaments that happen to be linked in terms of getting you an overall score.
I still don't know how it works. I'm so confused.
Paul, if you're listening to this, mate, release a mini pod and explain to Toph.
No, don't.
In fact, don't even just ring Topher up and tell him he's wrong.
Just maths.
Morning of the tournament. Just fill me in. Just let me know. Just give me a quick tip. It's all good.
All right. I mean,
let me know how to do this.
You didn't have to proposition the bloke.
Hey, that's what it takes if you want to be a winner.
Jeez, I'll sit in mid-table at security then, thanks.
Bribing the TO. It's how you get ahead in life, guys. Dan will tell you all about that.
Didn't work well for you at Cambridge, did it?
No, it's because Steve hates me. It's not my fault.
It's because of Toph's bad back, his head game wasn't as strong as usual.
I was You're allowed what? You're allowed one. I've had my bad day. It's fine.
He just had to lie on the floor and let someone teabag him.
So Toph, this is the same feeling I had last year when I'd gamed myself.
Yeah, shit happens. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll repeat myself that I said earlier in the cast. Sheffield wasn't here to listen to this bit. The mark of a true competitive gamer who's one who is able to accept the highs and the lows and understand that there are days where you're not 100%.
So
Yeah,
anyone
that's okay.
Yeah, for anyone facing Topher at the Bolt Action League, just be prepared for his retribution.
Well,
Or just give him a swift push in the back and he'll be all right then.
just beat the shit out of me. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's nice advice. Thanks, Dan.
Well, I've got to win again, mate. Can't have you win.
What's your opinion on the Bolt Action League then, Sheffield, as someone who's completely outside and doesn't give a fuck?
Oh, it sounds quite cool. I think it's just really good that someone has set up something that's avowedly competitive and gone, right, take the gloves off. And I like that. I think everybody who's going to it knows exactly where they stand.
I'll be really
And so it
upset
means-
though if one person goes, "Oh fuck's sake, your list as well, filthy," and I'll be like, "Oh, for God's sake, this again."
Well,
We had to
so
do this
this
at
is
the
the
GT.
Unlike Sheffield, I love it that there's a here's your gloves off stuff, but because it also frees up TOs where they're like, we kind of want to, but we kind of don't, to actually say, yeah, we don't have to. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a real shame that that I can't make it because actually I really would have loved to go. But no, I think it's going to be brilliant. I really hope that one of the things I really want to see out of this one is perhaps not really related to any of us here on the podcast. That because Paul's sorting it is Paul, isn't it? That's TA.
Yeah.
That actually he'll be around with his camera. He'll just be able to record stuff and not have to focus on actually playing a game or anything. So hopefully this will be a major tournament. Might be smaller scale, but a decent sized tournament with lots of photos and video and interview and stuff that he can edit and put up. And I think that'll be really good.
So what you're saying is, all that time you should be working, and with your family, you'll be sitting there watching my candy ass rolling dice.
Yeah. That's what you're saying.
That's fair enough.
To put anyone off their dinner.
Else
And
would
it-
you want
and
to
if you
do with
do
your
do that-
weekend?
I can't think of anything worse than like staring at your crotch for hours on end.
Cool. Anyway, this was supposed to be a mini cast, and it's going to end up being about an hour and a half long.
Well, this
Yeah.
was meant to be a mini, was it? It's
supposed-
5.5.
It's a 5.5. Yeah, you know what? I might have to scrap the whole 0.5 system and just have non-monthly episode turnaround because this is getting ridiculous.
Just a little bit, yeah.
I tell you what, listeners, tell me what you think. Do you prefer the 0.5, or do you just want us to start counting sequentially and just fuck it?
How OCD are you? Are you Dan levels or are you Toph levels? Because if you didn't know, Dan is OCD about just about everything.
Maybe
It
we should.
breeds winning, mate.
Maybe we should have a 5. Maybe the next point should be like a 5. Like we should do a 6.7 for no reason, just to fuck Dan up.
He's just a dick.
No, change the convention entirely and make it like out of a number. So make it like episode 6 of 251 or something like that. That'll just drive him
We'll
nuts.
just skip one. We'll just have episode 7. No one has to know what happened to episode 6.
What are you on about? It's episode G.
Dan's so triggered.
I'm just going to put myself on mute while I quietly rant.
Yeah.
British Bolt League. I'm taking Japanese. I think Toph's just taking whatever he can be asked.
British tank platoon. It's British tank platoon. There we go.
British tanks, yeah, there we go. And Daniel's taking.
Americans again.
Oh, more Yanks.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether to take a tank platoon or market garden though, so I'm still up in the air. I've emailed both lists in and both are fine, but I ain't got a clue what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Nobody
I'm not
knows.
gonna reveal exactly what I'm doing with my Japanese, but you'll have to be there, and I'll probably make a post out just before just the morning of the event, so you can see what nonsense I'm doing.
That's because you don't even know yet, Pete.
Shut up!
You might turn up on the day with completely the wrong army.
You know.
Do you want to borrow my Soviets, Pete?
Oh, that would be fucking funny. No. I
No.
might do for one tournament this year, but not this one.
I've got the new Budapest book.
We should definitely do
Budapest.
that for one of the Bolt Action Leagues, is each write a list and then we'll put them in a hat and lucky dip it. And
see.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
As long as I get mine out.
No,
Do you know what?
no,
We could do it
no.
for imps.
no, better way than that. Do it like Ready Steady Cook. So you each you bring 4 units, 4 ingredients that the other person has to make a dish out of. So you get to set the criteria of 4 units that they have to fit in,
No,
but you
'cause
don't
we'd
have to
just be
specify.
dicks. It would like be machine gun team, anti-tank rifle,
Anti-tank rifle.
like veteran Hanamag.
FT-17.
And a major.
Yeah,
You have to take a major.
we'd all just
A
be dicks to
veteran
each other.
major.
No, I like the hat, the at the hat idea, because then
Yeah, at the hat would be good.
you could potentially get it out yourself. So don't be too much of a dick.
Yeah.
No. What we'd do is we'd do it like the Champions League draws, where if there's 4 of us going, you put your 3 lists in, and I pick one of the 3 out, and then when it comes to you, the other 3 put their lists in, and then you pick it out. So you've got no chance of getting your own. So you have to
Yeah.
take one that you're not familiar with.
Yeah, but then I just don't want us to be dicks to each other. I see. it
No,
happening.
because you'd want it to be a list that you'd want to win with. Because you still want the team prizes, don't you? I wouldn't want to give you a shit list in the hope that you come bottom, because then we won't win the team prizes and won't get
Okay.
the points.
I've just thought of what we can end the show on.
Uh-oh.
Speaking of forcing people to take units that they didn't want to take.
How did that anti-tank rifle do, Sheffield?
Sheffield!
Absolutely beautifully.
Did it win
No,
your game?
no, I don't. It would be a bit much to claim that it won me a game. So in the first game where I played my mirror list, basically useless. It turned up at the end just so it didn't get destroyed in the final turn. Everything was too dangerous. It hid off the table until turn 6. But in the second game, it maneuvered into a position to potentially capture the second objective. So although that ended in a draw as well, it was possible. Had we had a 7th turn, it could have won the game, but it didn't. Whereas in the third and final game, which I did win, it was one of the units holding an objective in my side. So for an inexperienced anti-tank, it also killed a unit. It shot, yeah, and a good unit as well.
Shocking.
It killed a sniper at a range of over 30 inches. A sniper by himself. I'd shot the man. He killed a sniper that was down, single man at long range. So I rolled double 6, and then it was only a regular sniper, and I put a hole through his head on a 4+.
Jesus.
Absolutely nailed him.
I'd have been so annoyed about losing a sniper to an AT rifle.
It's all right. This guy had 2 snipers. There was a spare.
Oh, right, okay.
Did he get slotted in return?
No.
Get in.
No, he turned up. I think it turned up in turn 4, maybe turn 5, on the back edge, and just sat on an objective and just sort of took a shot every now and again. I think he missed once and then managed to hit the sniper. But I was keeping it shielded by a Kuba wagon, so so that he couldn't just like kill it off immediately in return on a 3-up. So no,
So
not necessarily.
what you're saying
the best
is
unit.
tank rifles are now going to be the first unit in your list every time because they're that good.
No, I managed let's put it this way. There were far bigger issues with my list than the fact that 40 points of it were an anti-tank rifle.
That said, Juggernaut Ian actually managed to pin out a Tiger with a combination of 2 of the units we said aren't very good, or at least I think aren't very good, an anti-tank rifle and an FT-17.
Ian is an abomination and a wizard. No one
He's a
understands.
wizard.
No one understands how he managed to do what he did.
Give him the filthiest, cheesiest list you've ever seen. He'll come bottom, and you're like, how?
But give him a freaking veteran anti-tank rifle army, he'll manage it. God knows. God knows.
He is the most casual of casual players until you put him in a tournament, and for reasons beyond all of us, he just turns into the Terminator.
That's insane until he plays Blood Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's king at that.
And then he goes cray.
So I'm looking forward to the British Bolt Action League. Hands off, gloves off. I'm expecting all manner of filth, and
Hands off. How are you going to roll dice?
Mouth, mate, mouth.
Well, yeah.
I've got
You'd have
talents of tongue.
Are you
You'd
not
have had
gonna-
plenty of work.
What I was planning to do with my gloves off was to stand on the table, crouch, clench, lift, and then drop. And that's how I'm going to roll the dice.
And put your back out again.
Goes to stand on the table, puts his back out off to the
Collapse onto the floor, cry, and then we'll have to carry you to the
You
car.
know what we need to do? I'll make sure I hit everyone in the back with a slab of concrete or something, and then we can all play on this equal field.
Yeah, so I'm actually looking forward to, because it's a type of event when we've got all the competitive lists, you can actually properly test your metal.
Yeah, it'll be
I don't need to.
interesting.
I've already proved that I belong with Dan in the top 2 of this podcast. See, I started cracking up in the middle of that myself because, like, I know that as a lie as much as everybody else does.
To be fair, you're in practice games, your list absolutely took mine to bits.
Yeah.
Remember, if you're at British Bolt Action League, code word is get petty. Come get a free widget. Got our names on the back, you'll know exactly who we are.
Yeah. And there'll only be the 3 of us as well there, so you'll know it's the hosts.
Yeah.
I have no closing thoughts. I might give one of them my shirt so they can pretend to be me.
Well, that'll be the person walking around giving Nazi salutes like Sheffield wants to.
But have I said this to you? That actually I was wearing an England rugby shirt the other day, was walking like through the High Cross in Leicester, and I caught a sight of myself in the mirror, and there I was with my shaved head and an England top. And I thought, I nearly crossed over to the other side for my own reflection.
Any final closing points? Because I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Right.
Can I give a quick shout out to Daniel Moody, who was one of the guys who asked us for advice coming up to Cambridge, and we gave him some advice, and he sorted his thing out, and then didn't read the mission pack and shot himself in the foot.
Oh, also shout out to Dan Moody. He gave me and Dan some presents. He gave me a late war last levy dude with the rifle that can shoot around corners that I've forgotten the name of.
Oh, nice.
It's got some cool rules where you can go down and still shoot it, which suits me down to the ground. And he gave Dan a little Nazi, a tiny little Nazi, little hit man.
I give Dan a Nazi salute every time I see him. it's the shortcut hair.
Oh, so you with the bald head doesn't at all look like a neo-Nazi?
Yeah, no.
It's a bit pot kettle there, mate.
Isn't it like a rejected eugenics experiment?
Is that where we...
Mate, I'd be the poster child.
Is that where we leave it?